Bob Iger is toast. He's done. He is, as the kids say, cooked. I know that. You know that. There are millions of shareholders along the way who know that. One thing that I was not prepared for was that Google's AI knows that. So, for anyone who doesn't have a YouTube channel, doesn't run a YouTube channel, they have long had a tab in the Creator Studio where you post your videos and upload them, put the tags on them, things like that, which was called, I don't remember what it used to be called, but somewhere along the way they changed it to being called the Inspiration tab. I think it was called Research tab. Then it was called the Inspiration tab. And the Inspiration tab for me never really made a whole lot of sense, so I stopped checking it. For this channel, for example, it always told me to review iPhones. I don't even have an iPhone. I don't know how I would review them. But that was kind of what it tried to tell me to do. So I just kind of stopped using it here. I stopped using it at Stripped Cover Lit, which is where I review books. I stopped using it anywhere that I do anything, really. Somewhere along the timeline, however, so it was all loosely sort of base level artificial intelligence that went into it. This is the type of video that people create, right? It would show you thumbnails of other people's videos who had done projects. Somewhere recently, I believe recently, it got more in depth with the artificial intelligence aspect of things. And now there are deeper level suggestions for the videos that you should do. There are even suggested thumbnails on them. It's kind of incredible. It's still kind of useless because while and whereas it does know more about the content that you create, it doesn't really give you the... It offers some stuff if you want to get into it, but it's not really all that great, at least from my perspective so far. But I want to show you what it told me to do when I clicked on it recently. And this is the first time I didn't know that it was all this in-depth AI now. Marvel's collapse. Beyond Bob Iger's leadership. This is what Google's AI on YouTube told me to create. A comprehensive analysis is presented, delving into the factors contributing to Marvel's current struggles. The video explores how these challenges extend beyond the tenure of Bob Iger, examining the broader systemic issues at play. Hooks. The bold statement and contrarian hook. Forget everything you know about Marvel's decline. It's not just about Bob Iger. The video will expose the shocking truth. Marvel's biggest challenges are rooted in a series of decisions made long before his recent departure, creating a perfect storm that even a new CEO might not be able to fix. The MCU, as we know it, is facing an existential crisis. Some interesting things there. They seem to believe that Bob Iger has stepped down. This is a common sort of thing with artificial intelligence, that they are reading different headlines from different places and they fuse some of them and get some details wrong some of the time. And while this is suggesting that Bob Iger is not the only, it's not just about Bob Iger, it does say that Bob Iger's part of the problem. This is from Google, suggested to me as a video topic. And look, I have done my fair share of Bob Iger sucks type videos. Nowhere near as much as other people. Is this something that Google AI is trying to push? Is it something that Google AI recognizes is particularly popular when it is done? I don't know. But it is. This was the main page when I clicked on the Inspiration tab just recently. Develop your idea. Future of the MCU. Okay, well, that makes some sense here. Disney's creative crisis is another suggested edit here. Post-multiverse saga chaos. So not only does Google know that Bob Iger sucks, they are cognizant, the AI is cognizant of the reason that many people are saying it sucks. The creative crisis and the multiverse crisis chaos as well. So I wanted to go over to Google itself and see what the AI separate from the Creator Studio would say. So I just typed in here Bob Iger fail. The term Bob Iger fail generally refers to the perceived underperformance of Disney under his leadership, particularly regarding recent box office disappointments and the struggles of Disney Plus streaming services. Criticisms include a string of film flops, almost exclusively flops lately, concerns about the profitability of streaming, and a perceived lack of creative direction in some recent projects, though Iger's successful past acquisitions like Pixar and Marvel are also acknowledged. The return of Bob Iger to the CEO position in 2022 after a previous departure is seen by some as a sign of the company's struggles with his eventually exit planned for 2026. And then you have some headlines over here, why Bob Iger's Disney success comes with some awkwardness, the awkwardness being it's not a success. Bob Iger exposed as a failure for Disney Plus disaster. Then, if you scroll down a little bit further, some of the other content on this is I don't know what this is, but it's from Facebook. I don't have a Facebook. Disappointment, I believe this has to do with Disney in some way. Then Disney is worse than you think from Idea Theory in May this year. Kathleen Kennedy fails Disney CEO Bob Iger again from June this year. So every month there's something like this showing up on YouTube. This is from Ryan Cannell. And then the Google page, when you search for something, right, there's always that, hey, did you mean this type of thing? People also ask, what happened with Bob Iger? What led to Disney's downfall? How often are these being searched? Was Bob Iger a good CEO of Disney? What are some recent failures Disney faced? And then we have the headlines subsequent to that. You have, for example, Disney's Iger is America's worst CEO from September this year. CEO Today, Bob Iger's Disney wins and fails. The Rawls Group, Disney succession fail, a family business lesson. You have Reddit. Disney has considered a co-CEO structure to replace Bob Iger, which is kind of a neutral headline. And then you have, obviously, the legacy media trying to step in for old Bobby I. 5 myths about Bob Iger's performance at Disney. Myth: Bob Iger is failing to turn around Disney. Although Disney stock is up 27% since Iger returned November 2022. Let's double click into that, shall we? This is part of that article there. Myth: Disney stock has languished under Bob Iger's leadership. The facts clearly show that Disney stock has significantly outperformed virtually all its pure-play media and entertainment peers during both of Iger's stints as CEO. Disney's 579% total shareholder returns during Iger's first term as CEO from 2005 to 2020 far outpaced that of key rivals Warner Brothers, 244%, and Fox, 104%. His Paramount's 49% during that same time frame. And since Iger's returned for his second stint as CEO, November 2022, Disney's 27% in total shareholder returns have far outpaced all its major rivals, who are in the red with Warner Brothers Discovery, down 22%, Fox down 6%, I don't know how you would figure that, and Paramount's negative 40% returns. No media and entertainment peer CEO can boast such consistent outperformance across 2 decades. Well, it's not about what the peers have done, is it? If you invested in Disney, you chose not to invest in, for example, Warner Brothers. At least not with that money. Maybe you put other money into Warner Brothers. But you invested in Disney. You were expecting Disney to turn a profit. The same way that if you invested in Ford, you did not invest in Polestar, right? You did not invest in General Motors. Who cares what they're doing? You want your money to perform. Let's look at that stock price. $110.74 right now. That's way over here. What is this? This is under Bob Chapek, isn't it? That is a $197.16 close. That is a $197.16 close on March 12th, 2021. Now, during that day, in the intraday, I believe it got up to the 200 mark, but it closed at 197.16. Today, it's at 110.74. Is that up or down? That's down, isn't it? Nearly 50% down. That is the sort of performance that the legacy media is defending. I'll tell you who's not defending it. Shareholders. Even though they did end up returning to, I don't know if I got that part on here, paying the dividend, I screwed that up. A dividend of 0.9%, not even a 1% dividend. And things are going so poorly for Disney that their P/E ratio is a 17.36. There's no excuse for that if you are a tech business, a tech company, as you are hoping consumers will see you as because you run Disney Plus, much like Netflix. So where does this sort of start? So this is 2021. That's when it reached the high. That was sort of the Disney Plus at all costs era. Now, what are we doing here to make money? Squeezing it out of consumers at the parks, it seems. That's what the folks at WDW Pro seem to be proving time and time again, that anything that is sort of subsequent from, I don't know, here, we're talking about squeezing more money out of the consumer as opposed to getting more consumers or driving more spend on product. It's just higher spend per product. So what are we doing this year? 2025, you're looking at a company, Disney has 12 movies scheduled for theatrical release in 2025, with additional films planned for Disney Plus streaming services. Theatrical releases include films like Captain America, Brave New World, Snow White, The Amateur, Lilo and Stitch, Elio, The Fantastic Four, Freakier Friday, Tron Ares, Predator Badlands, Zootopia 2 still to come. Predator Badlands recently opened. Zootopia 2 will open soon, November 26th, a couple weeks from now. And Avatar, which is scheduled for December 19th. Now, let's go down this list. Captain America, Brave New World. Was that a success or a flop? It was a flop. Snow White. It was a flop. I don't know why I'm drawing these. It's not even... Yeah. The Amateur. I don't even know what that was. I don't remember that movie at all. Lilo and Stitch. That performed. Okay. Elio. That did not. Fantastic Four. Certainly did not. Freakier Friday. I don't remember particularly. I believe it was not a big hit. I don't know how it performed versus budget. Tron Ares. An absolute disaster. Predator Badlands appears to be doing okay. Now, I have not looked into what the budget was for that movie, but it appears to be a decent going for that film. And it does look like it's probably, if you were into the Predator stuff, probably a pretty good go. Here are the numbers, though. You have, this year, $1 billion movie, and this might sound like I'm nitpicking, but barely a billion. $1.037 billion for Lilo and Stitch, the live action. Still, that's $1 billion film. Hard to come across those, especially hard to come across those in the post-COVID world. Had a budget reportedly according to ChatGPT, of $100 million. I doubt that was the budget. Marvel Fantastic Four, a budget reportedly of $200 million. I'll tell you that was not the budget, and here's how I'll tell you that was not the budget. Marvel Phase 3, you started getting $200 million films. So here we are with a movie produced in 2024 with a couple of big names in the cast itself. There's no way that it cost $200 million. It probably took you $10 million for that I believe it was a post-credit scene. I never saw the movie. But the scene with a particular Fantastic Four villain, I'm not going to try to throw any spoilers out there, but that scene alone probably cost you 10 just to get that fella to show up. Captain America Brave New World listed at 180. There's no way. That movie went back for so many reshoots. B, I believe Phase 2 was the last time you saw a movie actually cost $180 million for Marvel. Fantastic Four hit 521 worldwide, and then you had Captain America at 415. Together, they don't hit $1 billion. Add Thunderbolts in, and you get to 1.2. Thunderbolts with a $382 million showing at the worldwide box office off of a reported $180 million budget that was not $180 million. Elio reportedly cost $150 million, made worldwide $154. The Amateur 60 brought in 96, whatever that is. Springsteen, $55 million cost, 33 brought in at the worldwide box office. I imagine, though, that this is going to be big on Disney Plus, but I don't know. I have no idea. We don't get any insight into that. So let's go back a year. 2024, the Walt Disney Company. So one more thing here. I apologize. Just remember this number here: 12 movies. 12 movies for Disney in 2025. Now, these are approximations because it is AI. I didn't look into it particularly, but I think we're on target generally. 12 movies this year. What about 2024? The Walt Disney Company, through various production labels, released a total of 13 films in theaters. So 13 movies last year, 12 movies this year. You had last year Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, Moana 2, Mufasa. I believe Mufasa was a carryover, though, from Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Alien, The First Omen, A Real Pain, whatever that was, Elton John, Night Bitch, and A Complete Unknown. So how did those movies do in theaters? Well, you did have $3 billion showings. You had Inside Out 2, which hit basically $1.7 billion. You had Deadpool and Wolverine, $1.33 billion. You're not really looking at a Marvel movie with that. You're looking at a Fox movie with that. It was still really on brand with the Fox stuff, not with the MCU stuff. And you had Moana 2, which hit $1.059 billion. I thought it was going to go bigger than that, but they made their money on it. Mufasa ended up with $722 million. Okay. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, $397 million. I believe that is a low point for the franchise, so you might need to spice something up there or just discontinue it for a while. Alien Romulus hit $350 on a reported $80 million budget. While I don't believe it was an $80 million film, I don't think either that it was a $200 million Marvel-type movie. Then you have The First Omen, which made $53 on a reported budget of $30. I believe that was a horror film, so doing pretty good there for a horror film. Not a bad year at the box office. $3 billion movies, one over 1.5, nearly $1.7 billion in Inside Out 2, and a couple other hits along the way. So last year, not quite as bad as 2025. What about 2023? 2023 box office, Disney cedes global market share crown to Universal after years of domination. Universal's release generated an estimated $4.91 billion in movie ticket sales at the global box office compared to $4.82 for Disney. So you had a chasm of about $90 million there in the favor of Universal. This is from Hollywood Reporter. The 24 movies released by Universal generated an estimated $4.91 billion in worldwide ticket sales, compared to an estimated $4.83 billion from the 17 titles released by Disney in what made for a relatively close race both in North America and at the foreign box office. Even a week ago, no one in Hollywood was sure Universal would prevail, especially overseas. So, you had way back here in 2020, or right here in 2025, 12 movies. But in 2024, 13 movies. But in 2023, you had 17 movies. Now, why did they cut back from these 17 titles? Let's look at what those titles were. Ant-Man Quantumania, a reported budget of $200, which I'm just going to tell you is wrong, made $476 at the worldwide box office. Almost guarantee you that movie lost money. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, $250 reported budget, ended up bringing in $845. So you've got a profitable movie there. The Marvels, reported budget of $270, which if you're reporting $270 for the Marvels, it's probably a $300 million film. Straight up, flat out, pillar to post, probably a $300 million film. Brought in $206. That is a massive loss there. Elemental, $200 million movie, brought in $496. You probably made a little bit of money there. Then you had Little Mermaid, $240 million, brought in $569. Probably made a modest gain there. Haunted Mansion, $150 reported budget, brought in $117. So you lost money there, but the reason you might not be as mad about that is basically you're trying to feed people into the park with that movie. It's a $150 million commercial that you brought back in $117 million for. I get it. Then we have an absolute mollywhopper. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. The numbers that ChatGPT had for this film's budget are $352,300,000. If that's accurate, if that was a $352 million film to create, which I'm not saying it's not. There are a lot of people who have done the math on that and think that it's pretty close, if not a little bit short. You could have made 4 films for that money. You could have made 8 horror films for that money. And you would have probably done really well on one, broken even on 2 others, and then the others would have lost. But you would have gotten nowhere near spending $360 million on a movie that earned $383, which, by the way, does not mean that it made a profit. That's not including taking out the money that you're paying in taxes on this stuff. That's not including taking out the money that the box office itself keeps, that the theaters keep. That's not taking into account the money you spent on marketing. I mean, that movie was all over the place for some reason. They thought it was going to do well. So, yeah, that was a massive loss. And this, by the way, is Lucasfilm. That was 2023. Let's go back up to 2024. Do you notice any Lucasfilm movies here? Well, that's 1 year. What about 2025? Do you notice any Lucasfilm movies here? Are there any Star Wars movies coming out? If Lucasfilm were its own business, this movie would have killed the business. That movie would have destroyed the business. that movie would have put an entire studio out of business. The Creator, whatever that was, A Haunting in Venice, whatever that was, The Boogeyman, Poor Things. So you get what I'm saying here. Ant-Man and the Wasp, bomb. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, not a bomb, but it didn't do what you wanted. The Marvels, bomb. Elemental, relative bomb. Wish, bomb. The Little Mermaid, really, that's a relative bomb. A Haunted Mansion, bomb. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, massive freaking bomb. So, you stopped making movies after 2023. You went from 17 down to 13 down to 12. Let's return to the golden age, 2019, which, albeit, is a little bit unfair because that was the year you had just sort of several massive movies come out that were kind of on their own cycle, right? They were just scheduled that way. This wasn't an every year thing. Still, it's worth looking at. In 2019, the Walt Disney Company released a total of 19 movies. 19. And in 2023, 17. And in 2024, 13. And in 2025, 12. You're approaching half, right? 19, 8 movies. You're 4 movies over half of what it was you were doing in 2019. Let's look at those movies for a moment, shall we? So we just went over all of the bombs from 2023 that ostensibly killed movie making at Disney. Captain Marvel. Not a good movie, but $175 budget, it wasn't that, it was more expensive, led to a $1.13 billion film. You made money there. Avengers Endgame. Reported budget of $356 million. You're probably in the ballpark, but it doesn't matter because you turned in $2.8 billion at the worldwide box office. You could have spent more than $400 million. You could have spent more than $500 million on it. You still would have made a tidy profit there, a big time profit. Both of these are pluses. Boom, boom, you made money. Aladdin, a reported $183 million budget, probably low, but okay. You turned $1 billion on it. That's a plus. Toy Story 4, $200 million, maybe. Doesn't matter, you made $1 billion. That's a plus. The Lion King 2019, a little bit bereft that you're just taking movies you've already made and remaking them, but $260 million budget, $1.6 billion at the box office. That's a lot of money. Maleficent, $1.86 million, $500 million. You made money there. Frozen 2 cost $150 million. You turned $1.5 billion. You made money there. So, plus. Already you're looking at $6 billion movies. But it doesn't stop there. Rise of Soy Walker cost $593.7 million and made $1 billion. I think you probably squeezed out a positive there. Not a big one, but I think it probably was. Dumbo cost $170 million and you made $353. This was panned. This movie was absolutely panned at the time. People hated it. People talked nothing but garbage about it. Nobody went to see it. Nobody wanted to see Dumbo in that light. It was too dark. They didn't know what they were doing. Still, probably made a little bit of money. Now, there's a couple movies in here that I think were included, despite the fact that they weren't technically at the time Disney. Ford versus Ferrari, I think, was a Fox film, right? I think Alita Battle Angel, Dark Phoenix definitely was. I believe Ad Astra was as well. So those weren't going to be included on the Disney slate at the time, at least to the best of my memory. So look at that. 9 movies there that are probably profitable, including 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, is that it? 7 movies that made $1 billion. Now, this was in the before time, prior to COVID, right? And I've got some numbers that suggest that I'm trying to make a video about this. I just got to get some free time. The box office in general is around the same level it was in the 2005 to 2008 range. That's the number of people that's the number of money being made at the theaters, which means there are way fewer people going to the theaters because the ticket price in 2025 is at least double what it was in 2005. But we're around those numbers. 2008, I believe, was the big year jumping off point for the box office being massive. And that was The Dark Knight, that was Iron Man, that was Tropic Thunder. You had a billion, or not a billion, but a multi-million-dollar profit on a comedy, right? Big budget comedy doing numbers. That was the kickoff point for the MCU. So you had a blast-off point for the box office that the box office today is returning to those numbers. They can blame COVID all they want. That is not the case. That was a headline for the Chiefs. What it is that these studios are creatively bereft. There's no talent there. The talent has all been run out. And here's where probably there are a number of people who are directors or writers in this Hollywood today that could be talented. But A, they're scared of the crowds. B, they're scared of the studios. And C, a lot of times with a lot of crafts, you have to learn and cut your teeth on someone more well-established. All of the well-established folks have stopped making movies. So the talent underneath them didn't get to develop. They were thrust right into the mainstream. They were thrust right up to the plate. They're taking fastballs now. They were not in the minor leagues for 3 years. They were drafted from high school and got sent straight to the big leagues, and now they're facing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, and they look like they're terrible at baseball because they just don't know how to hit it yet. This is a crisis of their own doing. And with the profligation, since 2019 especially, of places like YouTube, guys, I don't know if anybody's going back. The movies you're making aren't getting better. The movies that are getting all of these dollars pumped into them are not worth the dollars being spent. So you're not going to get the dollar spent of the consumer. It is an absolute mad time. And I don't know that Hollywood survives this.